So I used to have an ex that basically they would just lie, 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 lie. Like everything, majority of the time was just lies, lies for no reason. It was crazy and it was ridiculous, and they still be lying, still be catching them in lies. But this person, I had to basically even separate just the point of coming from a genuine space to point things out to them. Just had to stop it all together. Because you have people, when they don't want to be revealed, or when they choose to operate from a certain space and being covert narcissists, they don't want people to see them for who they are. And you can make them so angry because you see them for who they are and you know who they are. And so it can put you in danger. And I've had this individual tell me that their coworkers would applaud them if they shot me. And they tried to pass it off as if it was a joke. But, I know, like, that's not a joke. And I don't play like that. You're not going to play with me like that. And so when people get angry and getting angry with you to the point that they hollering, yelling at you, and basically it could, you can tell that they're trying to refrain from putting their hands on you. Even when you see things, everything is not worth speaking on it. They know. People like that know the things that are not favorable about them, which is why they hide it, which is why they have to lie in order to get over on somebody. They have to portray themselves in a certain manner because they know if they were to be themselves, many people wouldn't want them. Many people wouldn't choose to move forward with them. Many people would not choose to be connected to them. And you just have to be careful in dealing with these kinds of people, and many times getting yourself into those situations, it's like a lot of times we knew from the beginning, that something wasn't right when it came to this individual. Even if it seemed like a little inclination, it's like, especially as women, we've got to learn to get to the point where we know source and we trust our intuition to a point that can't nobody gaslight you, and that you do not gaslight yourself off of your intuition and knowing what you felt, what you seen, what you heard, that you cannot move yourself off of it or allow somebody to move you off of it. Because when you do and you find yourself staying too long is when you begin to make excuses and you begin to get this obscured vision of what's really going on. And you can start to even turn things around on you, thinking that you got something wrong with you. I've been there. But I can even remember, like, this individual, me voicing to other people that I was scared. And this individual would be like, I don't know why you scared me. I don't know why you scared. And this been situations where I was scared, where I had right to be fearful, of knowing this individual has the potential to do this. But when you're actually dealing with a covert narcissist, or I can say the one that I dealt with, because of them putting up a certain facade to other people, they know those kind of things of actually putting their hands on you. They know that that's not going to be favorable for them, because that's just going to be too much exposure. That's just going to be a blatant, flat out, like, WTF, like, what's going on? You seem to be this way, and this is showing that this is the way that you're operating this way. Is showing a contradiction. They don't want that, but you don't want to be in a person's space to where you actually provoke them, that one day they do, get to a point and have an outburst where they come out and physically harm you. Some of these people, and I even believe that if they can get away with it, like I believed if he could get away with it, I believe he damn well will. He'll do it. But the thing is, operate in your intuition. Know who you are, know source's voice, know God within you, understand that you are God. Stop gaslighting yourself. Stop, allowing others to gaslight you. It don't matter how other people see a certain individual when you've dealt with them, when you've been in relationship with them, and you see the secret parts of them. You see them for who they are. Don't you allow other people to gaslight you off of that, and don't allow yourself, like I said, don't gaslight yourself. It doesn't matter that other people don't see what you see. It does not matter. Okay? That's the purpose of them being that covert narcissist. It is the purpose of them not being seen. But when you are in relationships with people for years, and you begin to see how they operate, then you start to put two and two together when it comes to their micro expressions and the way that they do things, the way they handle things, the things they say, the things that they choose not to say within conversations, the way they get quiet. You begin to come to an awareness that you wasn't crazy. And you're going to have to let that be enough. Okay? And if you're getting threatened, if you've been threatened, don't be somebody who's quiet about it. Because that is the thing that helps them to continue to operate in the space that they are, going undetected, because they depend on your silence. They depend on you not coming out and telling who they are. Because in a sense, it's kind of like a thing where all these people like me, all these people see me this way. And you can have this fear of, well, who's going to believe me anyway? Don't worry about any of that. Don't none of that matter. None of it matters. Because people who've dealt with what you're dealing with, or who are dealing with what you're dealing with, they know. Everybody is not oblivious to the covert narcissist. Everybody is not walking around with blinders on. Everybody, there are people who think critically. There are people who are spiritually gifted, who have spiritual sight. There are people who can understand where you're coming from and understand what you're going through or what you've been through. So yeah, these people don't want to be seen. They don't like being called out. They don't like it because they don't want that image and that illusion to be shattered. They don't want it to be broken down. They do all they can with all their might to keep it up. They want it up. They want that illusion up before people because they can't even handle looking at themselves. They cannot handle, the self-awareness that comes along with that, because they're going to have to face themselves. But yeah, y'all have a good one. Until next time.